The Democratic debates you've seen plastered across establishment media the past month make it painfully obvious the nation is monopolized by two political parties. We've known that for decades. That leaves us here wondering, are there other options? Should there be? How about at least a third option? There are few people more qualified to speak on this issue of third-party candidacy than Ron Paul, who ran for office and made a name for himself and his party affiliation as a libertarian. Joining us now is Dr. Ron Paul. He is a man who, for decades, really, has been trying to convince Americans that there is a better way, that you don't just necessarily have to choose the D or the R in front of your name. He has, for a long time, defended the cause of libertarianism. And he's good enough to join us now to describe for us, as we go through these political times in America, when you say there's a better option out there and it's to be a libertarian, what do you mean? Define that for us, Dr. Paul.
Well, people ask me that a whole lot, especially when I talk on the college campuses. I said, well, if you don't know where to start, just start with our Constitution, because our Constitution is pretty clear. They were talking about a government designed to protect liberty, not to run the economy, not to tell people how to live, and not to police the world. And it's there, but it's been distorted. So liberty, to me, is just recognizing that individuals have sovereignty. They should own their lives. They can do anything they want. They can abuse themselves as long as they follow one rule, and that is don't ever hurt anybody else. You can't lie, cheat, steal, or hurt people. And that means it's a risky world for some people because they won't know how to take care of themselves. And yet, when I talk on the campuses, most young people like the idea of it, especially I said, you know, if you get a job, you don't pay income tax in a system like this. But it's the design to make the responsibility on the individuals. And right now, I think it should be very easy to make this case, because the other side, which has been the last 100 years, Republicans and Democrats, have followed the course of interventionism, welfarism, and warfarism. And they claim, oh, wars will give us peace and prosperity. Yeah, we need to do that. But I don't argue that. It just causes spending money. And that, of course, is why you have a Federal Reserve to print up the money, because you can't get that money to run the war welfare state out of the pockets of the average American.
And, you know, it's interesting because you mentioned that about the Republicans and the Democrats. It seems like today in America, those two parties, you could accuse them of doing the same thing. I could show you how Republicans today in America are socialists. They take my money and give it to huge corporations who don't have to pay taxes while I do. That's about as socialist as you come. I can obviously show you how Democrats are socialist. Essentially the same critique points that you could find for one party, I could find on the other one as well. Do you agree?
Yes, I would work a little bit on the definitions, but I think that's a good statement. Socialistic, because they're moving in that direction. But you know, some of us in the libertarian movement think that where we're going, we have corporatism, all this favoritism, which you just talked about, benefiting in a narrow sense the big corporations and the banks. But that usually leads me, says the great Austrian economist said, that will eventually lead to a fascist system. You know, the combination of big business and government, and we are so close to that. You know, but boy, when I look at what's happened in medicine, it's corporatism all over. Insurance companies and the drug companies and the management companies, it's big business, and that has been supported. You know, Obamacare was a corporatism program. It wasn't socialized medicine. It was socialistic. But I think what we're hearing today, though, is a more absolute socialist system. But socialism comes in different forms. Fascism is socialistic, communism is, and extreme welfarism and corporatism. It's taken from one and given it to somebody else that hasn't earned it.
So let me close then by having you redefine what you just said, because I think that's noteworthy, if not newsworthy, to suggest that what we are experiencing right now or heading toward in the United States is as much fascism as it is socialism. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it would be, and there's a place where it turns over, it becomes totally socialistic because it controls every single thing. But if they keep things named in a business, it doesn't get rid of the socialism. If the government moves in, they benefit one group over another, they regulate things, and the people who write the regulations are the people who benefit. That gets bad, and then obviously it's not very productive, and then it collapses, and the weaker it gets is what we're having now. And like we were talking a minute ago, you know, the economy is pretty weak. That means to keep it together, they have to have a much stronger central government. And then all of a sudden they want to regulate people's personal habits. They want to regulate total economy for the benefit of the special interests. And that's where we are. We're moving quickly in that direction because this is not maintained in a voluntary system. Libertarianism and free market is a voluntarism that settles the problems imperfectly, but a lot better than turning it over to the bureaucrats and the politicians and the business people who have run roughshod over us.
Ron Paul, nobody does it like you. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for what you know and for teaching us that. My thanks one more time. So you haven't heard that we're the ones covering the stories that you won't see covered anywhere else? In Venezuela, Kazakhstan, let's go to Hong Kong. And the media reaction to that has been crickets. How about the way we cover those stories? What the hell does that mean? Wowee, wowee, wowee. That's the key word in this case, uprising. Keep? Can you believe that? Watching. This is the right thing for members of the media to do, to actually pick sides. Look, if you like what you see, subscribe.